Right, so what are we doing?
Analysing, Carol, over and over the figures we are pouring. Cigarettes up 11p a packet. Beer up 4p a pint. Wine up 14p a bottle. Spirits up 55p. And cider up 3. And that's going to cure the alcohol problem, eh? That'll really turn people back at the pub door. Whoa, up 4p a pint, is it? Well, we better just give that up then. Well, with the slightest bit of difference. And that'll be the headline tomorrow. I'm doing this in order to save the livers of the nation, in order to cure us of booze culture. No effect whatsoever. From 2009, major reform of vehicle exercise duty for new cars from 2010. How many years away is that? And Roger's thinking about it. That's ages away. That won't make the slightest bit of difference either. Highest polluting cars will pay £950. What, you mean Ferraris? The ones that cost £140,000 to buy. £950 is lunch to those people. That won't make any difference either. Housing. Stamp duty on shared ownership homes will not be required until people own 80% of their home. I don't even know what that means. Pensioners, winter fuel... Oh, stand by to click your stockinged heels in the streets, you old dears. Winter fuel allowance will go up from £200 to £250. Not a month. A year. 50 quid extra a year. That won't make any difference either. You won't even notice it. Some things about business. He's going to keep the non-DOMs thing, right? And they're squealing like stuck pigs. I can hear them from Monaco, all the way over here. Tax? What's that? Shut up and pay it. And that's about it, really. Armed forces, they'll get an extra £2 billion to be spent on troops on the front line. Right. Now, by that, do they mean the Ministry of Defence will get an extra £2 billion to buy art to put on its walls? I expect so. Yeah, it'll be ring-fenced for bullets. Right. Because they've been so precise about about what they order for our boys up the front. I mean, really, I don't... It's the worst day of the year for me. I just don't care. Because none of it makes any difference to our actual lives. Or am I getting this wrong? We won't... today and tomorrow, your life will be the same. You'll go and you'll buy a bottle of wine, and you won't notice it being any different, other than it won't be £4.99 anymore. It'll be £5.13 or whatever it is. It'll just look a bit... The price will look a bit odd. That's all. And if it's £5.13, the wine inside the bottle will be costing you about 5p, because the rest of it is the cost of the bottle and the tax on it, innit? Eating again, both of you. It's like feeding time at the zoo. If it was a wired fence in between us instead of 3 panes of glass, I'd be throwing bits of bread through it. Like gannets in there they are. Anyway, budget stuff. Tony from Westminster. Go on, I'll do a bit. Sure, why not? Got any thoughts? Because I haven't. 0845 6060 973. Hey, did the civil serf get fired yet? Did they find out who that is? This civil servant who's describing the chaos backstage at the civil service. This story broke this week. A mole hunt is on for an internet diarist who shocked Westminster by exposing the pointless and doomed world of the civil service. Note, and every time somebody blows the whistle on something like this, the imperative is not to cure the problems that have been highlighted, it's to screw to the floor the person that highlighted the problems. In a frank blog, the 33-year-old Londoner who calls herself civil serf writes of the incompetence, chaos and ignorance at the heart of Labour's government machine. Really? You don't say. She ridicules a string of ministers, including Gordon Brown. She calls him Velcro because negative stories have a habit of sticking to him, and Chancellor Alistair Darling. Have you ever seen hair look that ridiculous on one man? How is that even genetically possible? The eyebrows and the thing on top of his head, they couldn't match less. I mean, it looks like a checkerboard.
The eyebrows look like they're part of a Groucho Marx disguise, but the rest is missing.
Yes, exactly right. Last night, or a little while ago now, a couple of days ago now, her website, where she describes the headaches of being a bureaucrat in a huge government department which struggles to bring about any significant change, had been taken down. The move aroused suspicion that civil serf had been unmasked or had gone to ground to reduce the risk of being identified. In recent posts, she's claimed that Mr. Darling plans to use his first budget today. Oh, here's a bit of, let's see if she's right. To cultivate cheap headlines by announcing eye-catching but unaffordable measures. Well, she got that one wrong. Now, everything that we've heard so far, of course, is just what he decided to tell us. The actual evil parts are stuck on page 763, which you won't find without the aid of a microscope. But it will be taken apart by all of your newspapers tomorrow, and they'll come to the and they'll get individual families. Here's a family of two with the two children with a combined household income of £50,000, and they'll be £63 a year worse off. How do you feel? Oh, I think it's disgusting. You won't notice. She guesses, this civil serf guesses that child poverty and incapacity benefit will be high up on the list. Well, he said that, yeah, he said, I'm going to eradicate child poverty. But they all say that, and it'll never happen. There'll always be poor people. Partly because people can't be bothered to get off their wobbly bottom and work for a living, and that's true. I didn't see it, but there was this programme on last night, I think, about the Poles. And some nice man followed the Poles who were coming in, who were doing all the work that we don't want to do. And some bloke came in and he was highly trained, he was going to work in a hospital, something like that. Because he had 2 days free before his job started. Now, what would a Brit do? They'd repair down to the pub and watch Trisha all day. Get out a six-pack of Stella and fart into the sofa. You know they would. This bloke, he went and picked squash in a field. As in huge, great...
Butternut squash.
Butternut squash, exactly right. Enormous, great big things, like medicine balls they are. Back-breaking work, just because he had 2 days before his proper job started. And so the man went down to the local job centre to do a little comparison shot of the Brits, who were feverishly, as in idly, glancing at the jobs offered board, saying, oh, there's nothing to do round here. And when given the information that there is actually work, that all the Poles are coming in and taking, and it's £7.50 an hour, which is, I don't know, you add that up for me, Rog. What's that salary?
A day?
No, salary.
I don't know, that's like £62 a day. So 300-ish, 304 a week, 1,200 a month, just over 12,000.
£12,000 a year? Is that right?
Roughly.
Can you work backwards? Can you take the 12 and divide it by 12, and then by 4, and by 7, and by 8, leaving £7.50? We'll just assume you're right. Anyway, they turned their noses up at that. They said, oh, I'd rather not, mate. And then, as though on cue, actually opened a can of Stella while he was saying it. I can't be bothered. Anyway, how did I get onto that? Oh, yeah, the child poverty thing. There'll always be poor people because they can't be bothered to work, and that's true. We just can't be bothered. There's a whole generation of children who are growing up who not only their parents don't work, but their grandparents not don't work, but have never worked. And what incentive would that be to make you go out and get a job? You wouldn't. Entire generations, great swathes of this country, have not only no prospect of getting a job, but they're not remotely interested. It's not even on their horizon. They're not even thinking about it. They've accepted their, well, fate is not quite the right word. They've accepted their lot. That's not even the right word either. They're comfortable in their position of us paying for them to sit on their bottoms and do nothing. All day, every day. Isn't that shocking? That's what it must be like being you, Raj. I'll get on to being thanked at work a little later. I've got a little message for you. Gee,
I went
right.
down the job centre. This is what
Did
they
you?
had.
Yeah.
Producer for presenter.
Yeah. She guesses child poverty incapacity benefit will high up on the list. This is this civil serf who will be fired the moment she gets found out. I betcha. And the incompetence that she points out will continue unabated. On these issues, the little P politics between my Director General and our private office has reached fever pitch, with one accusing the other of scaremongering about spiralling costs. I'm getting restricted emails, nighttime meetings, and all sorts of other shenanigans, she says. One of my favourite words, that, shenanigans. Why don't you look that up on a dictionary definition site? We'll see what that actually means. She can see... It's hilarious, leaping into action, looking at me like I'm a moron. Yeah, right, I'm going to do that. She condemns the government's reliance on spin and ads. There is a strong stench of déjà vu. We recycle the same policies with different names. Ministers repeatedly make the same announcements. And that's been the accusation quite commonly of late, that Gordon or one of his cronies will say, well, of course, we're doing this, that and the other, and we're earmarking another £100 million for... But it's not a new amount at all. This is the same amount that they said last year and the year before and the year before that. They're just calling it something else. Criticising the bureaucracy and the endless meetings, she says, I've received a meeting request that probably deserves a mention in the Guinness Book of Records. It's for something called the People Action Team. That sounds exciting, doesn't it? And it's scheduled to last for a staggering 7 hours. A meeting! She also tells how her colleagues are frequently underutilised, saying, I know 2 people within 8 desks of me whose jobs could be deleted overnight with no discernible impact on our performance. Like you, Rog. You'll be able to shout, with justification, help, I'm being abused, any moment now. It's 7:45. LBC Travel with Will Gowing.
Thanks very much.
I'm listening, dear. You can talk to me.
I'm listening, Tony. You can talk to me.
Oh, what's that there? Hello?
Hello, Tony. Yes, Tony.
Yes, well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm still working. And I started at 7 this morning. And,
oh, poor baby.
10 to 8.
That
yeah,
is
well,
interesting.
That's
Please tell us more.
At least my setting is looking new.
Right. Are you a cab driver?
I am in fact a cab driver, yeah.
Thought so.
Yeah.
But you don't like to moan. Go on.
I'm not moaning. I just don't want you putting me down with the chavs in it, right? I don't want you thinking that I'm ringing up because I've got nothing better to do.
Right, I wouldn't think that.
No, right? Well, don't think it.
I ain't thinking it.
Well, no. Right. Anyway, listen, how much does it... what is the cost of pulling a child, a Dickensian child, from squalor into the 2008? How much does it cost to do that? Well, what is the government doing to eradicate poverty in the next 8 years?
That's 2 questions, Tony.
Sorry. Part A, Part B. I just wondered if it's like 20 pence.
Yeah.
If it's only 20p that they're going to give somebody.
Yeah, I got 20p.
Yeah, well, you could eradicate poverty, couldn't you?
Then I'd feel good about myself, like a real human being.
They're not going to give like £20 a week, are they? Well, how much is it? How much are they giving?
I don't know.
Save the children.
Save the children?
Well, yeah. How much are they giving the parents of the poor children?
Right. Well, I'll look it up for you. Hang on a moment.
Along with shenanigans.
Yeah.
That would be 2 things that the Raj could do.
Here you go. £17 more a week for poor families with 1 child. Yeah, that'll work.
17 quid for poor families with 1 child. Yeah. If you've got 2 children, it's still £17, yeah?
A family with 2 children earning up to $28,000 a year will be, are you ready?
Yeah.
£130 a year better off.
Jesus Christ.
You won't get a pair of trainers for that.
No. And anyway, just very quickly, because you're ever so funny and I'd rather listen to you than me, I've decided I have decided that the exorbitant cost of the said cigarettes, and some of the petrol stations have even put the price up now.
Right.
And it's not supposed to go up for 6 months.
No, I think it goes up at 6 p.m., doesn't it?
I thought he said 6 months in October.
Hang on a minute, I'll look it up.
Oh, would you?
Cigarettes up 11p a packet from 6 o'clock this evening.
Right, well, I'm off to Ashford. I'm going to France, go on.
Yeah.
And then they won't get no revenue, will they?
Yeah, well, that's true. And then all the booze is going up by Sunday, so get it in.
I'm going EastEnders Sunday, get my Guinness, Sambuca and Baileys. No revenue to the government whatsoever. Well done, darling.
Thanks a lot, Tony. Sambuca, Guinness and Baileys. I'm on about 3 pints of Sambuca, Guinness and Baileys a night now, man. I can handle it. I'm just feeling a bit queasy at the moment, that's all. Here is Banstead. Hello, Charlotte.
Hello, Nick.
Charlotte.
How are you? You got over your holiday yet?
Well, I'm still feeling really rough. I'm sleeping at odd times, waking up at strange times. I'm feeling wired. But you know me. I don't like to complain about my physical ailments.
Don't like to complain.
Yeah.
I heard Nick Ferrari one morning. He said he's got a 4x4.
Has he?
Because he's got a boat. And I heard him say, "Trust me,
he's got a boat.
He'll be fine."
He's got a boat.
Yeah, I heard him say he's got a boat.
Right. Well, you need a 4x4 if you've got a boat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you going to pull it?
Yeah, and he said he didn't like people telling him what he could and couldn't drive.
Yeah, quite right too.
I heard him say. I mean, I've got an old W-Edge Land Rover.
Right, which is a 4x4.
It's old for the dogs. But I never drive into London. I always come up on the train up to Victoria.
Oh, it must be a nightmare for you.
No, I mean, it's much better than... Well, I couldn't drive in with my old thing anyway.
Well, why not?
No. Hello?
Yeah, why not? Why can't you drive into London with your old thing?
No, it'd probably break down.
Right. Although you are more ecologically sound in driving an old gas-guzzling car into the ground than changing it for a new car that sips petrol. That's very true. You'd be much more in line of saving the planet if you drove a 4x4 that's about, that's 10 years old, or an old Bentley, or an old roller, which you can pick up for 10 grand, excuse me, than buying a new car, like a Toyota Pius, or whatever they call it.
But I don't think it's this tax, I heard them on drive time, has got anything to do with global warming, do you? This tax they're putting on the 4x4s.
Let's see what that is. Cars, fuel and road pricing. Environmental reasons, fuel duty will rise. Funding set aside for road pricing proposals. From 2009, a major reform of vehicle excise duty. New cars from 2010. The lowest polluting cars will pay no road tax in the first year. The highest polluting cars will pay £950 in the first year, and then presumably it will go down. So people who are going to spend £250,000 on a new roller are going to have to stump up for almost another £1,000, which will be approximately the cost of a cup holder as an option.
Right.
So it won't make any difference at all.
No.
What it will do is just... It's not being attacked by a lion, this. It's not going to make it's not a life-changing difference. It's just being nipped by a mosquito. It's just irritating, is what it is. Hey, listen, Charlotte, I've got to go, because here comes the new news. But cheers, my dear. All right.
OK, bye.
This is LBC 97.3.
This is... Listen to him. He knows everything.
Here's a lady called Susan in a place called Little Clacton, which sounds like... an insult in a communal shower.
Colchester.
Susan.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, now why I phoned up was, in Colchester, that's not far from where I live.
In Little Clacton?
Yeah, I live in Little Clacton, Essex, right? That's not far from Clacton by the bus. But there's been a panther, a black cat that's been seen.
No, I wouldn't think so, no, I wouldn't think so, no.
You know, in Colchester?
Yeah, Colchester, near Clacton, yeah, Little Clacton, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a bit further away,
as far
but...
as the bus goes, yeah.
We've had quite a lot in our local paper about this.
Puma?
Well, this lady, if I can give you the heading, it's got Mum Tells of Shock at Sea and Beast of Essex. A mother and daughter were out in the car, and they actually seen this
Puma.
Puma panther.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
cat.
so. No.
But I just wondered if you've heard of other cases around.
Well, every now and again you do hear of a big cat sighting.
Yeah.
And nothing ever comes of it.
No, I was just wondering though if they get these experts down.
Yeah.
If obviously there is a big cat or a larger cat around, they want to. I don't know if they've tried it to leave some food or something in the area.
So yummy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting, really. We've had another, person write up to the letter page, and he was saying that he was glad that the article got in the paper, because when he told his mother about it, she didn't believe him, but he actually saw it from a distance as well, and it's all around the same area where the hospital is.
Always from a distance. From a distance.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't think so. A puma? Nah. A puma? I mean, David Attenborough has the trouble to go and find a puma, doesn't it? We're stalking Essex? Nah. You'll be all right to leave your baby out in the pram in the yard, I am sure. But let us know if you see it yourself, all right?
Can I talk to you a minute?
Go on, then.
If it's all right to mention, if you're interested in the case, you can go on the internet, and if you... Can I give you the newspaper name? It's only a local paper.
Go on, then.
It's the Gazette, Clacton Gazette, or Colchester Gazette. You'll see it will come up. It will tell you all about the sightings. Type in Clacton Gazette, and you'll see all the write-up about it.
Well, I'll ask if Raj will do it, but to get him to do anything at all, very, very difficult, Susan.
All right.
I'll hold my breath.
I'll contact you on it.
All right. Cheers, my dear.
Yeah, bye.
Ta-da.
Bye,
Keep your
bye.
eyes peeled, shenanigans, mischief, prankishness, a deceit or trickery, a mischievous or deceitful trick or practice. Shenanigans. What a great word. It could be one of the best words in the English language. Come up with a better one.
Discombobulated.
No, it's too Ken Dodd. Shenanigans. There's just something really almost perverted about it. Roll it around your tongue a bit. Go on. 0845 6060 973. Show's going into a weird alley for a moment there. Go on then, look up the Clacton Gazette and we'll examine this in detail. Sutton, I get all my information, by the way, from the Clacton Gazette. Oh, what they don't have in that paper isn't worth printing. Sutton, hello, Solomon.
Hey, Nick, how about shindiggery?
Yeah, it's along the same lines. Too close to shenanigans.
Oh, well, not to worry. Just a quick update, really. Just wondering what's happening about your parking ticket, really.
My what?
Your parking ticket.
Parking ticket?
Do you remember you got a parking ticket? Oh, don't tell me you forgot.
Did I?
You did?
I got a parking ticket?
Yes. You was going to oppose it. I hope you did.
I'm drawing a blank. What parking ticket?
Oh, you got a parking ticket from our friends of Westminster.
Come.
I
hope I didn't, because otherwise I'll be taken to court, because I haven't paid it, and I can't remember what it is. I had a parking ticket?
Yes.
From where?
From Westminster. You was parked for less than 2 minutes. Well, that's what you say to the parking warden. And he slapped your ticket. Well, he didn't put a ticket on the car.
Oh, now it's coming back to me. Yes.
I hope you opposed it. Did you send it off?
Well, no, I didn't receive it. Of course, I don't receive a lot that gets posted to me. iPods, all sorts of things go missing. So that could be one of them. But
you haven't seen anything yet?
This was in poshest Bond Street, and I was just picking something up, and I was parked there for literally 2 minutes. And as I came out, two of them surrounded my car, and in as much as two people can surround anything. And I drove, and they had problem with their little machine. They couldn't tap me details in fast enough. And they were both peering at it, and I thought. For a moment there, I thought I'll wait and just to see what they say, because they're in uniform and they look like they're in of authority. But then I thought, what am I thinking of? Just leave. And so that's what I did. I backed away and I left. And I haven't heard a word since.
You haven't had your notice to owner yet?
No.
Oh, it won't be long now. Sit tight.
All right. Thanks for the bad news, Solomon.
I'm not finished yet.
Go ahead.
Listen, I saw something. It's about the only thing, old Brown and Darling, haven't really texted us on. I mean, Brown and Darling sounds like an old porno film, doesn't it? I mean, all we need is Tallulah. We're going to have sex, drugs, and rock.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, it's the only thing they ain't text us on. I mean, hope he's not listening. I don't want to put any ideas in his grey little head.
I seriously doubt he's a fan of this show.
Oh.
So you can speak at will.
You don't think he's got a sense of humour then? I mean, judging by today's thing, he must have some kind of sense of humour.
Well, to have totally white hair and completely black eyebrows, you would think there would be some sense of humour there. I'd burst out laughing every time I looked in the mirror.
Yeah. Do you think he does that on purpose, or is it natural?
No one could choose that colour scheme, so it's got to be natural. Too weird. And that the guy's called Darling as well. I mean, it just puts the tin cap on it.
I bet you've done it on purpose, just to, so that everyone notices him.
Well, it certainly takes your mind off what he's saying, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, I bet nobody remembers what he was saying in the budget.
No, quite right, too. We were agog with how he looks, yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Solomon. Cheers, mate. Ta-ra. 0845 6060 973. Here it is from the Clacton Gazette. The Clacton and Frinton Gazette, no less. They must have the editor must be working overtime to slice stories out to fit in the Clacton and Frinton Gazette, the things that must go on there. That paper must be bulging. A young cat was left like a zombie after ingesting... Why did you put this up? Oh, poor little thing.
I couldn't find the one about the puma.
So this is what you give me.
That's what happened when I typed in big cat into the search.
A young cat, you're not going to like this, was left like a zombie after ingesting drugs on the streets of Clacton.
Groovy.
A 1-year-old Pickle, I presume that's the cat's name, who lives with the Dawson family on Portsmouth Road, went out on his daily stroll last Thursday. As he usually comes home by 5 a.m., owners Graham and Nicola were concerned when he hadn't appeared by 8 o'clock. When he finally came in, he was really disoriented. He was like a zombie, Mr. Dawson said, 47. We thought he might have had a fit or been hit by a car because he was shaking. His body was hunched up in pain and he was unable to move normally. This isn't a happy story. Mrs. Dawson added he was very frightened to look at. Or frightening to look at. He had staring eyes and very slow head movements. I've got that. A couple who have 2 teenage daughters rushed Pickle to the nearby Haven veterinary practice, where his condition baffled vet Peter Gard and his colleagues. And eventually it turned out that he'd been up all night at the disco. Banging, slamming, crashing, cat action. No, well, we didn't find the Puma story, but we'll keep looking. But keep your eyes peeled. Whatever that nice lady's name is, I can't remember now. But I couldn't remember getting a parking ticket. So don't ask me anything. The civil serf whistleblower, I start stories, I never ever finish them. I only read one story yesterday. It comprised about 6 column inches, and in 2.5 hours I didn't get to the end of it. And as the person who's supposed to be in charge of this show, Raj, I expect that that's your fault. This is the civil serf, the person who is exposing incompetence in the civil service on an anonymous website. On an anonymous website. She wrote in one entry, from before Mr. Hayne resigned, she says she saw a union bod and asked him why his staff were paid less than in other departments. This is Mr. Hayne asked why his staff were paid less than in other departments. She wrote, Hayne said, I didn't realise that was the case. Stop, press, come on, the guy's in charge of the DWP. And consequently, on the largest payroll, excluding the NHS in Whitehall, he doesn't know that his staff are on different pay scales to the rest of the government. Hello? Is anyone home? So she's going to get fired. As soon as they find out who she is, and I'm sure it's all hands on deck trying to find out who this person is, she's going to be fired. A department source said that there were suspicions about her identity. A spokesman added civil servants are expected to abide by the Civil Service Code of Conduct, which is to cover their ministers' ample bottoms. I've seen that TV show. It's 8:15. LBC Travel with Maggie Doyle.
Well, the A20 London...
I really like you. Do you like me?
No. Harrow. Paul.
Hello, Nick.
Paul.
Good evening. Just a quickie on your mosquito analogy you made up a little while ago.
Yeah.
1 million mosquitoes biting you, 1,000 mosquitoes biting you, it's a bloody big bite. And that's basically, if you add up what it's taken over the last 3 years in budgets, it's not a little mosquito. It's just a big bite, but they keep on taking little bits all the time so you don't notice. But in the end, you've got a massive hole.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And it's just very frustrating, basically. But now, is it luxury to have a car? I heard someone on your show a little while ago say, cigarettes, drink, and petrol is a luxury. Petrol isn't a luxury, it's what keeps this country going.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, and it's very... And the government and everyone else is getting us to think that way. And it isn't.
I would suggest that alcohol isn't a luxury either.
To a certain extent, I would agree, depending on how I feel. The other thing, on for environmental issues, the congestion charge, and also the £200 for heavy goods vehicles going into central London. Now, where do they think these vehicles are going? So I've been told they're actually being sold for next to nothing to European countries and out of the EU. Now, that means they are going to be run so much into the ground that there's still going to be a carbon emission. It's just not going to be in central London. So he's not doing any different. He's just making a lot of money out of it.
Right. The thing with old cars that cost pump out a lot of CO2, cars and lorries and so on, it is true, or I think that it is. Correct me if you believe that I'm wrong. To drive them into the ground rather than replace them with, like a Toyota Prius that is like a hybrid car, or something that's got a smaller engine that's lower CO2 emissions, because most of the damage to the environment is done in the making of the car.
Yeah, and also the tax you actually get when you buy a new car. How much tax for that? How much of that new car goes in tax to the government? But if you actually drive a car into the ground, it's going to get past the tipping point. When the government are going to make more money out of it by you buying a new one, to less money by putting it into the ground.
Right.
So there must be some tipping point at which it isn't uneconomical. You know, like my last car, it was over 400. When I actually sold it, it was worth £200 because of what happened to Rover. But I could have run that for another 6-7 years.
Well, you should have done, mate.
I know, but, everyone's got,
But you wanted a new one. Yeah, I want a new one with a passion, but there's nothing really wrong with mine at the moment. I mean, bits are falling off it, and I can't be bothered to fix anything anymore, and the heating, sometimes it works,
the same with the
and
body,
sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, but that's the same with your body, that in the end you can change your car.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thanks a lot, Paul.
Good night.
0845 6060 973. If anything else large goes wrong with my car, that's it. It's had it. I will disappear, screen left, and come back with the branch of a tree and beat it to death. Still possibly the single funniest moment in television comedy history. Tea actually came out my nose when he did that. Here's Epsom. Hello, Chris.
Hi there. I run a chauffeur car. It's a Lexus LS430.
Oh, yeah.
I'm outside the London area, so I've got to pay the £25, 1st of October, which is bad enough.
It's shocking, isn't it? I just can't believe that that's actually going to happen. But only if Ken gets back in will that happen.
Well, I've actually had customers actually saying they will not pay it. So does that mean I go out on the dole? Because it's just pushing our costs up so much. Now I just got in after a long day's work, and you mentioned about the £950 for the road tax. Is it road tax, is it?
Let's have a little look for you.
It's an LS430.
With the highest polluting cars, which sounds like that's yours, will be £950 tax in the first year.
That's outrageous. That'll basically kill me off, that will.
Well, you're like a posh, you're a posh cab driver.
Yeah, chauffeur, yeah.
Right, but so you come in and out of London on a regular basis?
We do. Well, we speak to a lot of the customers, but they're not willing to pay the £25.
No, but you don't pay it every time you come in. You pay it for a day.
Yeah, I know, but we might only go in there once a day.
Right.
And the customers are just not willing to pay that kind of money. Well, they're quite happy with the £8, but when it's £25, it's gonna do me in.
Yes, well, I would imagine that's true, yeah.
And you put the 950 quid on top of that, that's going to... that will finish me off.
But that's
outrageous.
That's only in the first year of its life, though.
The quicker these clowns go, the better.
All right. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you.
0845 6060 973. Talking about TV comedy, by the way, the end of this article that I was reading yesterday about this American who says that we wallow in our grumpiness. It says that the team from the University of Western Ontario says that it might explain why the British enjoy irony and sarcastic put-downs, that our genes are linked to sarcasm, teasing and self-deprecation, so-called negative humour, while Americans don't have that gene. Now, I would suggest that genes imply that it's something that you're born with, but that can't possibly be true. People aren't born with a sense of humour. It's your environment that gives you your sense of humour, surely. So it must be something about living in this country that makes us latch on to negative humour much more than Americans do. And I think part of it is, well, Americans are always striving for success, and they worship success. We, on the other hand, are very suspicious of people who want to make a success of themselves, and we rather revel in defeat. We like a plucky loser, where Americans want to kill the loser. They only are interested in winners. And they talk about money a lot and how much do you earn, and we think that that's it's very non-you to talk about that sort of thing. And this perhaps is why we like negative humour. The team from the University of Western Ontario say it might explain why the British enjoy irony and sarcastic put-down shows, such as Fawlty Towers, Blackadder and The Office, much more than Americans, and why US versions of those British hit series are generally far blander. One of those involved in the research, which involved studying 4,000 twins in Britain and the US, said, "It's possible that differences between these nations in their sense of humour may be the result of different genetic and environmental influences. Certainly in the UK, TV humour is more biting." And I've got to thinking, is that actually true? Because this is the common thought that Americans don't get irony and they don't get sarcasm and all that sort of thing, and that TV humour is more biting over here. But the things that I like to watch, which are mostly American comedy programmes, are really quite biting. I mean, Curb Your Enthusiasm, for instance, which is probably the best written comedy programme on television at the moment, is very biting and very sarcastic and quite black and nasty in places. Much more so than... I mean, there's no end of British comedies that are on television, that have been on TV for a good long while, that are flat-out bland rubbish. Terry and June type programmes. We've still got a lot of those. Zoe Wanamaker is in one. I can't remember what it's called, but after 5 minutes you want to throw yourself out the window. It's awful. And she's a great actress. What does she do? Well, I know what she's doing in that. She's picking up a paycheck. There's another, the chap who's in that programme as well is also a very good actor, and he's also just he's coasting is what he's doing. It's not a funny programme. It flat out isn't. And there's no end of not funny British TV programmes. On all the ones that are mentioned in that breath of ironic and sarcastic genius, excuse me, Fawlty Towers and The Office and so on, are compared favourably to their so-called more bland American counterparts, Cheers and Friends and Frasier. Now, the difference is, you get, I would suggest, more laughs per minute in Cheers, Friends and Frasier than you get in, well, I don't know about Fawlty Towers. Sometimes you watch Fawlty Towers and it becomes a little uncomfortable because you're watching a man suffering a mental breakdown. But there is always a good number of laugh-out-loud moments. The major difference is there was 10 years of Cheers and 10 years of Friends and 10 years of Frasier. We got 12 episodes of Fawlty Towers and 12 episodes of The Office. Not 10 years, 12 weeks. That's the big difference, I think. They ain't got no legs. Partly because of the different ways in which they're written. But anyway, that's the end of that article yesterday. I just felt it was, it was eating at me that I tried to read one story in 2.5 hours and I couldn't get to the end of it. So now I feel complete. And I can relax. This is me relaxing. Oh 0845 6060 973. This is LBC 97.3. Every day this week we're giving away an amazing Sony Vaio laptop. If you fancy one of these, then you could win one. The auction closes 6:30 tomorrow. It has a high-definition picture on a widescreen display. It's got a 1GB RAM, 120GB hard drive. It's amazing how big these things are getting now. I mean, not a few years ago, we wouldn't have got a tenth of that in a laptop computer. Bigger and bigger they get. You'll stuff all sorts of things in there, you will. It's got 3.7-hour battery life. It comes wireless enabled. Someone won one for £1.25 the other day, which is considerably less than you'd pay in the store. If you'd like to bid, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. Remember, it's a reverse auction. The person with the lowest unique bid wins. So if it was a bid of 99p, you'd text LBC 99 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines close 6:30pm tomorrow. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Here's our bloke called John. John.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, John.
How you going, mate? All right?
All right. Oh, good man.
Yeah, Nick, I love the show. I was just really thinking, I'm a little bit different about what you have been talking about tonight, but I'm not really a proper, fully-fledged conspiracy theorist, but I keep calling this now the Great Green Swindle, this government, because it seems like it's just, nailing this to the floor on taxes with the logo of green behind all of it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of what I mean. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, do you remember the big thing about the El Nino effect?
Yes.
And that was going to be for the next 20 or 30 years, and there was going to have the eastern seaboard of America was going to be underwater and all this sort of thing. You don't hear about that anymore now, because the reason being, I think, is they can't earn any money out of it.
Right.
Do you know
yeah, well, you can't stop a wind, no matter how hard you try, yeah.
Yeah, but it just comes under as a different name now as global warming. They realised that El Nino, because it was a nature's thing and it was nothing being done by man, they couldn't earn any money out of that one.
I think for me, the bottom line is, if we have indeed changed the world, and there is a certain point beyond which the warming will be completely out of control. I think it's about the time that the permafrost starts melting, because when the permafrost melts, this giant swathe of the planet that is completely frosted. The Earth is frosted up. When it starts to melt, then the CO2 that's trapped in there will go into the atmosphere, which will warm the atmosphere, which will make the permafrost melt more. And once that starts, well, then we're sunk. And so, if that's actually happening, there is nothing that mankind can do to reverse that at all.
I mean, there was a program, or a news program during this week where they were saying a particular village. I can't remember which one it was now. I think it was in Devon or Cornwall, and they had a flood level on the side of the building from 1855, for argument's sake. It was 18 something.
Yeah.
And that level was way higher than anything you're getting now.
Right.
So this is nothing new, and I'm sure that in 1855, for argument's sake, they never had gas guzzlers and 4x4s then.
No. Their cars were 1 horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. All right. Thanks very much, John. Cheers, mate. Ta-da.
Thanks, mate.
0845 6060 973. I've said this before, and it seems blindingly obvious. It's almost too obvious to say again. But they have hit upon a way to tax us that it is hard to argue about. I mean, it's almost the same as saying, well, we're going to put up petrol by 10 pence in order to save the children. It's one of those things that no reasonable person could say, well, hang on a minute, I don't want to save the children. It's impossible to argue against. And and it's as though it came out of the blue. Well, literally. And they hooked onto it and they thought, oh, hang on a minute. What's the most unpopular thing any government can do? Raise taxes. Now we find a way to raise taxes that people can't object to. Wow, this is just political nirvana. And so this, we certainly have not heard the end of this. And even if the so-called global warming, I suppose we can accept that such a thing is happening. There seems to be a welter of opinion behind it. Even if it started to reverse, they would say it would be, well, we must tackle global cooling. I mean, it's a gold mine for them, literally and figuratively. So you can expect to pay and pay and pay something that you really can't, that a reasonable person could not be expected to complain about. We'll just have to lump it. Still, mustn't grumble. Hampton Court. Hello, Gus.
Oh, hi, Don.
Gus.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Gus.
I think a word which is very useful these days is skullduggery. Even with all these hidden...
It's a what?
Skullduggery.
Skullduggery.
Yes.
Right.
Like shenanigans.
Yeah.
But skullduggery will...
Skullduggery, yes.
Yes, this will describe a lot of the new measures which the government is putting in, and Mr. Ken Livingstone, and, we're getting caned whether we like it or not.
Yeah, thank you, sir. May I have another? Skullduggery. I want you to look that one up, Alex. All right, I'll check on that. Thanks very much, Gus.
Okay, sir.
Cheers, mate. Ta-da.
Good luck.
Richmond. Hello, Alan.
It's totally hypocritical. It's rubbish. I mean, they sit there telling us we've got to pay an extra 4p on a pint, while we're paying hundreds of pounds a bottle for them to drink at taxpayers' expense in Westminster Palace.
Well, that's true,
Which is one of the few places that you can smoke without the smoking ban.
Can you?
And I'll tell you what, I'll get rid of my 5.7-litre V8 Chevy Suburban. I was going to sell it. I'm going to keep it now.
You drive a Chevy Suburban?
Damn right, and I drive a 1500cc Harley Davidson as well. I've got an even bigger one in the United States. And when they start driving round to their conferences, and the Prime Minister and the ex-Chancellor are driving round in their smart cars and gee-whiz cars,
yes,
then I'll start getting rid of mine. They trade their Daimlers in for a smart car, I'll get rid of my Chevy and my Harley.
That's a very good point. Thanks a lot, Alan.
Okay, mate.
You want to get rid of your Harley anyway. Harleys are no good in this country. They can't turn corners.
Mine can.
And they made too much noise as well. Come on, be honest. What a racket those things make. They're a ridiculous bike. I mean, bikes in general make way too much noise for the size of the engines that are on them. I mean, my car engine is bigger than almost any bike's engine that has ever existed, and it makes almost no noise at all. When a motorbike goes by, it shakes the very foundations of the building you're sitting in. Why? Why do they do that? And Harleys are flat out the worst. Unless you've actually fiddled around with the exhaust pipe of your bike, no bike makes more noise than a Harley. And it's to make the normally fat old geezer who's sitting on it feel more youthful and manlike and like a rebel. Like his little essence of Dennis Hopper wafting over him as he revs away. Well, and you don't even rev away, do you? You crawl away from the lights on a Harley because it weighs 10 tons. Approximately the same weight as the bloke that's sitting on it. In it. That's true. Well, why do bikes make so much noise? Can anybody explain that to me? I mean, cars, they don't make so much noise, and it can't be just because the engines are sat in a little tin box at the front of the car, and a bike's engines are free to the elements. That can't be it. Why do they make so much bloomin' noise? And how can they get away with it? There should be sharpshooters on buildings dotted around no, I'm serious. Dotted around the country just to take them out every now and again. With, well, you don't even need a gauge to determine the sound level. Just use your bloomin' ears. If you can hear them coming from streets away, then it'll give you enough time to aim and cock the trigger back. Oh, am I being unreasonable? Take them out, Mad Max style. Come on, let's do it. Here is, Wegerston? Never heard of it. Frixos?
Yes, hi. No, it's Whetstone, North London.
Oh, right. How do you spell it?
Whetstone.
Oh, right, okay. Whetstone, right. I would have got that had it not been spelt with a G. But carry on.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about this, the way motorists are being taxed for their sort of environmental footprint.
Yeah.
I was in Dubai last week. I was reading a local newspaper article, and it said how many trillions of natural gas gets flared by these petroleum companies simply because they say it's uneconomic for them to capture this gas.
Now, is this the stuff that comes off those the long tubes, chimneys? I suppose.
Exactly.
Right.
You see
Okay.
these big
The
torches.
constant flame. Yeah.
Constant flame up into the sky.
Yeah.
And it just strikes. There's so many other wastes of resources, wastes of gas, which in turn lead to emissions and so on around the world. To penalise this tiny island and within that this little capital city, it's just crazy.
It's going to make, honestly now, it's going to make no difference at all. At all. So it's not a green issue, it's just a way to raise more money that we can't complain about. But it will make not one bit of difference if they remove every car from London. It might make the air better in London, but we seem to forget that the air is connected the whole world over. London's air isn't fenced in. It's connected to the air in China just as much as it is in India and Sussex.
Exactly. So our contribution to the whole global warming effect, I don't know, there must be scientists out there that have done this study. What is it that we contribute to the problem? And therefore, by right, is what we pay commensurate with the damage that's being done?
Yeah.
I think the USA are the worst offenders because.
Well, that's right. Well, they're the most advanced and they're the most populous, advanced country. Yes, but China and India will shortly be overtaking them and stretching off into the distance.
Yeah.
What's Dubai like? Be honest.
Dubai, interesting. I had a good time, I have to say. Although, a bit of a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And.
A cultural wasteland. I'm right there, aren't I?
I was actually flying back into London. I thought, some greenery, some trees.
Yeah.
Get back to a bit of, real life type thing.
We've got art here. Yes. All right. We ain't got no sun, but we've got a lot of art. All right.
Well,
thanks.
that's exactly where I went. All right, Nick.
Thank you. Cheers, mate. Ta-da. 0845 6060 973. Should we go a bit early? Should we be a bit cheeky? Live on the edge. Dangerous. 8:44. LBC travel with... I don't know. It's not on my screen.
Maggie.
Maggie.
Okay, well, starting off...
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. The other thing that was that got a lot of press today, and people are hyperventilating about it, it's a new tax, was this BAA... raise in the duty that airlines are going to have to pay when they land at the BAA airports. Passengers face higher fares to pay for new terminals and security at UK's busiest airports, a watchdog ruled yesterday. Industry experts say the decision could lead to flights becoming £20 more expensive within 5 years. The green light for BAA to increase its charges to airlines, much of which will be passed on to passengers, was given by the Civil Aviation Authority. It came on the day that BAA revealed a payment of almost £2.6 million, thought to be to a former chief executive, Stephen Nelson, who presided over chaos at Heathrow. You can't be surprised at directors of companies getting giant amounts of money for what appears to be a bad job. If their company is not doing very well, directors will still get a giant payout, and do you know the reason why? Because they can. We would do the same in the very same circumstance, would we not? If we'd presided over the failure of a company as the managing director and we were leaving, and it said in our contract that we could pick up £2.25 million, would we say, oh, you know what, I don't think I've really done my best? No, you keep it. Of course not. We'd trouser it immediately and walk out the door laughing. So don't be surprised that happens. They write it in their contracts because they can. We don't because we can't. And that's just life, innit? The payout comes with airlines demanding the breakup of BAA, which owns and runs 7 British airports, claiming that it has a monopoly in southern England. This anger intensified yesterday when CAA sanctioned a dramatic increase in the landing charges that BAA can levy on airlines at Heathrow and Gatwick. Heathrow sucks so bad, they should be paying us to walk through it. I came into there on Sunday night. It is hideous. Welcome to Britain. Like, you want to run to the ticket desk and buy the next ticket on a plane out. Awful. I mean, it does look like you've walked into a third world country. I left from Thailand, where people live in corrugated iron sheds, and their airport looks like it comes from Blade Runner. It's like someone out of Star Wars. It's fantastic. Clean and bright and shiny, and it's just great. And Heathrow, it looked like you'd walked into a Nissan hut. It's chronic. Anyway, at Heathrow, BAA can charge £12.80 a passenger. Next year, that's a rise of 23%. In each of the following 4 years, it can increase the levy by inflation plus 7.5%. So in other words, flights could cost you £20 more within 5 years. And on and on and on and on and on these stories go. And just as with the tax rises in the budget, I'm thinking, so what? Shut up. It's not going to make the slightest bit of difference. You're getting on a plane, it's going to cost you 20 quid more. That will be approximately half the price of the lunch that you'll buy in the destination of your holiday when you get there. You won't notice the difference. But people love a bit of a moan, eh? Here is Slough. Hello, Robin.
Nick.
Yes, Robin.
All right, mate. Global warming, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
We're being conned.
Go on.
We're being conned. It's definitely happening. I'm not denying that. But what I am arguing against is that we are contributing to it greatly. We're not. Do you remember back in the 70s, if you're old enough to remember that far back?
Cooling.
We were good. It was the next ice age was almost upon us, wasn't it? Do you remember that?
That's right. Yes, I do.
Stock up with your thermals and buy your woolly hats now because, you know, we're going to be under 3 feet of ice.
Yes.
It
was actually very worrying at the time because we were convinced that was going to happen. And we were thinking, oh, blimey, it can't get worse than this, as we were peering out the window with a slate smashing into it.
If the government was really that interested in halting global warming, they would put a halt on the internal combustion engine and let these car manufacturers and petroleum companies manufacture an environmentally friendly car because they've got the technology.
Well, actually, they haven't yet. What they're going to try and do until they can perfect the technology of just capturing the energy of the sun more efficiently, which is really what we need to do. We really need to perfect solar capture, because that's what's going to actually save the planet, because it's the renewable resource which will keep on giving until it gives too much and we all fry.
Well, the sun is what's heating the planet up, because all of the temperature on all the other planets is rising as well. So you're not telling me they've got 4x4s on Jupiter, are you?
Is that true?
It is. It's the solar flares, the solar energies. The sun is giving out more heat, thus everything heats up.
Where did you read that the temperatures on the other planets are rising?
It wasn't in the sun, Nick.
Oh ho!
You'll do a bit of research on the net and you'll find it. It's just, and there are a lot of very, very credible scientists who are arguing this point, but they don't get the media exposure that the Al Gore types do, because Al Gore has. And talking about Al Gore, do you remember when he was vice president under Clinton?
Yeah.
He did absolutely stuff all for the environment then, and he's out of power. Clinton gets knocked off his perch. Old Al Gore's out of the job. Suddenly becomes this fantastic leader for the climate, and I'm this and I'm that and I'm wonderful.
Well, it's a living.
What did you do when you were in power? Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
So he's out of a job. So he's thought, how can I make a bit more money out of this?
Well, what they've got now as an interim technology between what we have at the moment, which is a 100-year-old way of moving about with a combustion engine, as you say, and the whatever nirvana piece of kit that they're going to invent and we'll be driving around on in 100 years' time, is biodiesel. Which, of course, is biodiesel and bioethanol. And bioethanol, I believe, is the petrol substitute. And let me see if I can get this right. Bioethanol is being made from corn. Is that correct? And biodiesel is being made from, blimey, I'm going to get this, palm oil.
Right.
I think I've got this right. Now, the problem with these things is, that palm oil is made by cutting down vast swathes of the forest in Indonesia and Malaysia and places like that, where you can grow palm
trees.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're removing indigenous flora and fauna and creating a monoculture, which is terribly ruinous to the planet and will increase global warming just by that method. So that won't work. And bioethanol, which is what we can make in this country, is made from corn and maize and starchy crops, which we're going to have to... there will be another monoculture, which of course will take over from making actual food for us. So you've either got a choice of driving around in your car or eating. So that's what they've come up with between now and what we will be using in 50, well, presumably, assuming the scientists actually make a breakthrough in 50 years' time. So in either way, we're doomed.
We're doomed.
Exactly. Thanks, Robin.
Cheers, Nick.
Ta-ta. Here is Acton. Charlie.
Good evening, Nick.
Hey, Charlie.
Well, just regarding loud motorcycle engines.
Oh, yeah.
3 words for you.
Go on.
Mirror, signal, manoeuvre.
What does that mean?
Well, the lack of. If car drivers actually looked in the mirrors before they did manoeuvres, I think a lot of motorcyclists out there wouldn't bother fitting what's called a sports can or exhaust can.
Oh, get lost. They're not making their motorbikes louder just so that we can hear them coming for their own safety.
All right, it's secondary, admitting it. I've done it myself because it does sound better.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you feel more like a man, right?
Well, there is that, but I used to be a courier, motorcycle courier in London, and I mean, some of the rental bikes I had, they were, quiet as you like, and you do notice the added danger from car drivers not, or at least hearing you before seeing you.
Well, you have to understand, Charlie, as a car driver, we're very busy. We're fiddling with the radio, we're scratching ourselves intimately.
GPS.
Yeah, we're pulling chunks out of our nose, and we're mixing cocktails, all at the same time. We're not looking for you. You have to watch for us.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I do. But, unfortunately, especially when doing manoeuvres, like I said, turning right, left, U-turns and the rest of it, it just sort of seems to have disappeared, the old MSM, mirror signal manoeuvre. Mirror signal manoeuvre, yeah. In that or any other order that you care to choose. Yeah, that's right. I think you can make it up yourself. That's the new highway code. Exactly. All right, thanks a lot, Charlie. Cheers, Nick.
Ta-da. 0845 6060 973. It's blimey, is it that time already? We've charged ahead. I can't remember a single thing we've talked about so far, but Raj will fill us in as we get later on in the show. This is LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. Saying thank you at work makes a big difference. It's often said that politeness costs nothing. Where's my thing? Oh, I should have read this beforehand. Oh, there's no end of amusing bits I could put into this. If only I had prepared. Every word of this show has been previously written. Don't you believe otherwise? It's often said that politeness costs nothing. In fact, it seems a little more courtesy could save business £5 billion every year. Frequently hearing the phrase thank you or well done means the same to staff as a pay rise, researchers have found. Actually, if you think about it, logically, there is something in that, because if you get a bit of praise at work, it just makes you glow inside, eh? Frequently hearing the phrase thank you or well done means the same to staff as a modest pay rise. Praise and encouragement also makes employees more likely to work hard and stay in their jobs, saving the cost of finding replacements. A third of 1,000 workers surveyed by consulting firm Whitewater Strategies said they did not get thanked at all when they did well, and a further third said that they were not thanked enough. In both cases, staff said that they felt undervalued, meaning that they were less likely to exert themselves and were more likely to look for employment elsewhere. The net result is around £5.2 billion in lost productivity from employees who would raise their game if they felt more appreciated. It's like we're dogs with our tongues out, desperate for a pat. yearning, looking pleadingly at our owners. If only it would stroke us. Our little tails are wagging there on the floor, and he's standing there with his arms folded. It'd make a huge difference. In regional terms, Scottish staff felt most undervalued. 4 out of 10 workers said that they were never thanked. And 8 out of 10 said they would like more praise. It's not a question of being nice, says an expert. Saying thank you fundamentally affects the bottom line. Staff are primarily motivated by 2 key areas: financial reward and a happy working environment. Acknowledging staff's achievements properly has the equivalent perceived value of a 1% pay rise. That translates to a £5.2 billion saving for UK business. So in other words, just as a con, the management in your company could just run around throwing thank yous all over the place, and metaphorical and literal pats on the back, just to save money, because people would accept it in lieu of a pay rise.
Be polite!
Be polite. Makes a huge difference. Raj, thank you.
Do you really mean that?
I do. I really mean that, Raj. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Can't think of anything at the moment, but it must have been something. Thank you. Thank you. Alex?
You didn't thank me for that last cup of tea.
Yeah. I meant to speak to you about that. Yes, thank you, Raj. Alex? Here's barking. Hello, Steve.
Hello, mate.
Steve?
Yeah, I do like me drink after work,
Yeah,
you know?
who doesn't, yeah.
And, this putting, more money onto the price of booze, I can't see the logic in it.
Won't make any difference.
Well, you see, the reason is, I thought to myself, that's the same logic as putting 10p on a litre of fuel, and, in order to cut down speeding.
Speeding?
Yeah. You there's a chance you could turn around and say, we're putting the price of fuel up because of speeders.
Yeah, I see what you mean, yes.
It's the same logic, isn't it?
Well, if he is actually saying, and if the headlines in the papers tomorrow, which I suspect that they will say, that he's putting up the price of booze in order to tackle Britain's drunken culture, then that is a flat-out lie, because it won't make the slightest bit of difference.
Yeah,
4p on a pint? What's that going to do?
The same argument would go for speeding. I'm putting the price of fuel up because people still keep speeding.
Yes, quite right too,
You know,
yeah.
and also another quick thing about your tickets that you get in Westminster.
Yeah.
What I usually do in my taxi, any black bin bags that go out into the road, you know, that are not on the pavement properly, I usually explode them into pieces, you know, at night time to get my revenge back on Westminster.
Oh, well, as long as you're doing your bit to protect the environment, well done,
Yeah,
Steve.
that's a nice bit of therapy. And the global warming, it depends on who you want to pay. You can pay yes-men consultants or no-men consultants to get whatever answer you want on global warming, you know.
Or anything else that you were looking into. Yes,
Anything
you're absolutely
else.
right. Yes, statistics will tell you anything you want to know.
You can have any statistic you want, just pick up and phone the right person.
Yeah, quite right too. All right, thanks very much,
All
Steve.
right, mate.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
ta-ra. 0845 6060 973. Here's one on the North Circular. Hello, Ivan.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thanks.
The diesel.
The what?
The diesel. Biodiesel.
Biodiesel, right.
Yes, if you can remember the really hard winter that we had this year, I think
No.
I think that there was a couple of days of heavy frost, wasn't there?
Yes.
Dusting of snow, I think, if you was lucky in some places.
Right.
I'm from Norwich. The local bus company uses biodiesel. All the buses wouldn't start.
Really?
It has gone all waxy.
Is that right?
Yes, so going back to, you could say, the 70s and the 80s, when you saw the lorry drivers underneath their lorries with their pallets which they were setting fire to warm up their tanks,
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Well, that can't be, is that the safest way to start your engines?
No, that's how they used
Setting
to get,
fire to it?
That's how they used to warm up the diesel, didn't they? You used to see them in the on the news that there would be a little bit more snow.
Right.
And you would see them outside having their little barbecue, but no meat, they was warming up their tanks.
Okay. Well, I think there are additives that they can put into biodiesel. I mean, some of them cut it with actual diesel, don't they, in order to keep it loose? Yeah.
But the problem being was the coach company didn't do that, and when they woke up in the morning, they had major problems.
Well, that's because they're stupid.
Yeah, definitely.
Or something. Okay, thanks, Ivan.
Cheers.
Ta-ra. Let's have... not available at this moment. Okay, 0845 6060 973. There was this thing about... I've got all sorts of things. I wonder which... shall I give the topics out and you can tell me what you want to hear? Asylum fraud. Shaking his head. This is an asylum seeker who swindled 25 grand in state benefits. Do you know how much he's going to have to pay back? This is a chap who's found to have over £500,000 in savings. He's got over £500,000 in the bank. Took 25 grand from us in state benefits. Do you know how much he's been ordered to pay back? That's right. £1. That's the majesty of British law in action, boys and girls. So there's that. I mean, I guess I've just read that story, really. If the summary told you everything you need to know. Criminals avoiding jail. Thousands more will avoid jail, to be let off with community work, such as litter picking. Shall I do this one now? Under a £40 million plan announced yesterday to ease overcrowding, thousands of criminals are to be let off with community work, such as picking up litter. This will fuel concerns that ministers are moving towards the abolition of all prison sentences of less than a year as the jail population rises. What is actually going on in this country? Because we lock up more people than almost any other country on earth per head of population, and it doesn't appear to be remotely enough if you take the word of the popular press. What's actually happening here? What are all the people in jail in there for? Is there a way of finding that out? A breakdown of what people are inside for having done. Because in America, American jails are stuffed full of people who are in there for drugs offences. Which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, because jails have to be one of the easiest places to get hold of drugs on earth. Bizarrely. How they get in there, I've no idea, but they do very successfully. So if on the outside you were caught for smoking dope, you'll be able to get it much more easily and probably cheaply inside. So you'd think that their punishment would be not to go to jail. But anyway, I'd be inquiring minds are keen to find out what the percentage is of, and Raj has already leapt into action by doing nothing and staring at me. He's thinking of cricket scores or something. I've got no idea. There must be some way of finding out the percentages of what people are inside for in Britain's jails. Two of them are in there still twiddling their thumbs. Are you talking to me? Oh, what? Oh. Oh, well, you've got to have a laugh, ain't you? Well, as we come back, we'll have all of those statistics, I'm sure. There's a flurry of activity in there. 9:15. LBC Travel with Maggie Doyle.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Sadly, yes. How would you like to win a weekend break in Ireland with accommodation and spending money thrown in? That is what James O'Brien is giving away this week. If you listen to James O'Brien on LBC in the mornings and work out at which London landmark our very own St Patrick is at, then you could win this prize. Ireland is a great holiday destination for all the family to experience Ireland and celebrate St Patrick's Day. Get down to Trafalgar Square on Sunday the 16th of March. A free event will be going on there. You can also click on our website, lbc.co.uk, for a chance to win more fantastic prizes, thanks to Tourism Ireland. Yes, so we find out about that, prison stats. Here are some statistics. 90% of the... 90% is how much the prison population has risen since the start of 1993. Good God, no, that can't be right. Since the start of 1993, the prison population has risen by 90%. You're kidding. What website is this? Is this just what some geezer has written in his bedroom? What is this?
It looks like a blog.
A blog? This is the... Why don't you just make it up? A blog. That cannot be correct. 90% rise in the prison population since the start of 93. Impossible.
That's the best one I could find.
Really? Is there no government statistics? You think
Hang on.
it'd be the sort of thing...
There was one for Scotland.
All right, well, that would be a very good indication. Sure, let's have the one for Scotland. Prison statistics, Scotland.
2003.
Well, all right, that'll do.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'll be fairly representative. Yes. Carry on.
It looks quite interesting, doesn't it?
No, not really, no. Is that the entirety of the page? Give me control of this page.
You have control.
Prison population, remand population, sentenced... OK, here we go. Exactly right. Non-sexual crimes of violence, 41%. Crimes of indecency, 7%. That's a lot of indecency, isn't it? Indecency, 7%. Why, what? Much of this show is indecent. Crimes of dishonesty, 16%. Fire-raising and vandalism, only 1%. Miscellaneous offences, 6%, and other crimes, 18%. How can you have other crimes and miscellaneous? They're the same thing!
But the section that said dishonest crimes, or crimes of dishonesty...
Dishonesty, yeah.
Surely all crimes are dishonest.
That's a nice pie chart, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks lovely, yeah.
3D.
It's almost completely useless. But it looks like the vast majority are non-sexual crimes of violence. 41%. So that is a lot of violence. In other words, practically, let's assume that because the society itself seems to have got more violent, let's assume that half of the people in prison are there because they've hit someone or worse. So what is going on with this, society that we have to throw so many of our people in jail because they're violent, crazy people? What's that about? And Jack Straw just the other day was saying, oh, no, it's not. It's basically what he was saying. Oh, no, it's not. He says, we've never been so happy and fulfilled and peaceful, and we're basically like the Yoko Ono walking about the place we are. In the face of constant evidence to the contrary, he was saying, basically, oh, no, it's not, which seems to be the government's position on any given criticism. Oh, no, it's not, they say. It's a knee-jerk reaction. But anyway, this is this suggestion, £40 million plan announced to ease prison overcrowding. It'll fuel concerns ministers are moving towards the abolition of all prison sentences of less than a year as the jail population rises. The National Probation Service is to receive the additional funding to pay for more community sentences. Do these actually work? Do people show up for these things? Because I read a little while ago that people on community sentences were sitting on park benches having a fag, drinking Stella, and if they would show up at all. And because there's nobody there to police them, so to speak, they can do whatever they like. They can say that they did, that they showed up and did their work. And unless you're Naomi Campbell and you've got 50 photographers charting your every move, you can get away with it. So it's basically, it's like another I'm gonna punish them, but we don't actually go through with it because we can't be bothered, it's too expensive, so they just get away with whatever it is that they've just done. It's going to be spent on projects such as improving derelict areas, mending broken park benches, removing graffiti and litter picking. There will be more probation officers to oversee the projects. But you're going to have to oversee it on an individual basis, aren't you? I still haven't heard of a better scheme than I came up with, just to sit in minding my own affairs the other day. And that is, if you are caught spraying graffiti, something like that, dropping chewing gum on the ground, which is not of great inconvenience, but it's irritating. You go to cleaner countries, Luxembourg, Switzerland, places like that, south of France. The pavement isn't spotted like it's got some sort of skin disease. There's not chewing gum all over the place. People just don't drop it. But here, it seems as though it's like a macho thing. You just spit it out your mouth, because otherwise, what are you looking at? It's chronic. It's true. Get those people to undo whatever it is that they've done times 10, times 100. If they've been spraying graffiti, give them a bucket and a brush and get them to remove the graffiti from streets in a 2-mile radius. And have somebody watch them do it at their expense. Pay them whatever daily rate it is that somebody, and it would be a boring job right enough, but you've got to watch them do it so they actually do the job. And the quicker they get the job done, the less expensive it will be for them. Because if they just can't be bothered, and they slack off, then it might take them 10 days or 10 weeks, which it will cost them more because they're paying the daily rate of the person who is watching them. So it will be in their best interest to do it well and quickly, which means that the job will be done quickly, which means that we will have a better society quickly, not at our expense, but at the expense of the person who was ruining it in the first place. Can you pick a hole in that?
What if they can't afford to pay you? Where will the money come from?
Well, we'll just go around their place and sell their TV or whatever.
And once you've sold all their goods and they have no other, and they still owe you £50?
Well, we might let them off if we've
let them off then?
If we've comprehensively ruined their life, then we might let them off with the last, with the spare change that's left. Yeah. Well, serves them right. Another thing that is going to be trialled is asking the community what the punishment should be. Community courts for small crimes, which are, they on the surface they're small crimes, but of course a lot of small crimes are ruining people's lives to the point that they actually want to die, and that's not an exaggeration either. Low-level hooliganism and vandalism and just playing music loud late at night so people can't sleep, and people have heart attacks or they want to commit suicide, and that actually is not an exaggeration. So what they call low-level crimes, communities would decide on the punishment themselves. So I'd be curious to find out what people think that punishments should be for certain so-called low-level crimes. And I have an idea about what they might be. Because there seems to be some sort of medieval bloodlust in this country that would come to the fore in such a circumstance. Ask people what people should get for, I don't know, nicking an apple off a fruit stand. String 'em up. You know that's true. About spitting gum on the pavement. Rip their guts out. We will revert to type really quickly. We'll bring packed lunches to the town square, where people will be hanged for our pleasure. If they put it on TV, it would knock Simon Cowell off the top spot straight away. This is LBC. It's 0845 6060 973. Here's Dagenham. Hello, Bob.
Hello?
Bob.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on...
Bob, are you on speakerphone?
No, I'm not. No.
Oh, right.
I'm not near my phone, me radio either. No,
are you speaking directly into the phone?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
Is that better?
A little bit.
Yeah. Right, and what it is this business about the pensioners getting £250 and £400 on their heating bills.
Yeah.
2009. We're actually getting the bills now. And in 18 months' time, we're going to be in debt. He's postponed it for 18 months, but we're getting all these 20% and 25% bills now. And, there's nothing to pay for it.
Yes, that is a good point. However, when you get the increase, that isn't going to be such a great amount either. Winter fuel allowance will go up from £200 to £250 a year. You ain't going to notice.
No. But they've also done it 18 months in advance. So we're not getting it for 18 months. That's £50 increase, yeah. And they say October, but it's not October. By the time we get it, it's November, December.
For the over 80s, by the way.
The over 80s, it's £400.
It'll go up from 300 to 400, and they can be that generous because they're that closer to death.
That's right, yes.
Isn't that awful?
I know.
Bob, I've got to go.
90 this year.
Bob, I've got to go because here comes the new news. But thanks a lot, mate. Keep warm, eh?
Bye-bye.
How Low auction is up and running. This ends 6:30 tomorrow afternoon. It's for a Sony Vaio laptop. It is quite the business. It's got a high-definition widescreen display. It's got 120GB hard drive. It is just the very thing. Somebody won this for £1.25 the other day. It's a reverse auction. It's the person with the lowest unique bid what wins. And to enter, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was 99p bid, then you would text LBC 99 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines close 6:30 tomorrow. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. Grey goo. What do you know about that, then? An echoing silence. Potentially toxic chemicals are being incorporated into food, packaging and health supplements and other products by stealth, it's claimed. Scientists, consumer groups and green campaigners fear the technology is being introduced into the diet, body and environment without proper safety checks. Grey goo, it's nanoparticles. 80,000 times thinner than a human hair. Just think about that for a second. How's that even possible? How can you make something that small? Science, eh? Beyond belief. So small they can cross human membranes, protecting the brain or the baby in the womb. Critics say it is not known how such tiny particles will interact with the body and organs in the long term, and whether they are toxic or how long they will persist in the body. Let's just assume that they are. Yesterday, a report by Friends of the Earth said that current regulations are ill-equipped to deal with the unique properties of nanoparticles, as indeed are we. I mean, we've got this this skin that's on us, which has been developed over thousands and thousands of years. 86,000 years, I just made that up, in order to repel everything that is dangerous to us, and it's done a fantastic job. Little round of applause for skin. Tremendous job there, well done. Nanoparticles, on the other hand, are new to it. It has no defence over those, because the holes in our skin aren't small enough to stop it getting in. And we have no idea what it's going to do to us. It said, this report by Friends of the Earth, despite concerns about the toxicity risks of nanomaterials, consumers are unknowingly ingesting them because regulators are struggling to keep pace with the rapidity of their expanding use. The study found at least 104 food and agricultural products available in Europe, including the UK, which use nanoparticles or technology. These include some nutritional supplements under the Solgar brand, cling wrap, that stuff that you wrap all of the food that you haven't eaten all of, which I'm always very suspicious of. I always felt that I feel uncomfortable with cling film, unless that's a brand name, in which case it's super fantastic and I should use more of it. Cling wrap sounds more generic, doesn't it? Very uncomfortable with cling wrap. I always felt that it was leaking chemicals into my food. Now I know that they're using nanoparticles. God knows what you're eating. Antibacterial kitchenware. There's a lot of that about. You know, chopping boards that are supposed to be antibacterial. I think all of that antibacterial stuff is actually doing the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing. In much the same way as taking, what are those pills that people get? Oh, I've got a cold. Here you go. There's they were getting too used to, and so bugs are getting stronger. What's that stuff? Yes? Go on.
Paracetamol?
No! Go on, Alex.
Aspirin?
No, it's the,
Antibiotics?
Antibiotics! Oh, finally we got there. That would have driven me mad. Like antibiotics, it's actually having the reverse effect of that which was intended, in much the same way as all government targets are having the reverse effect of that which was intended. Looks like you wanted to say something else. Keep leaning forward.
No, I was just pressing the button.
Oh, right. Oh, well done.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alex.
May I have another?
The study found that at least 104 products are using this stuff. Antibacterial kitchenware, processed meats, chocolate drinks, baby food. Oh, great. And chemicals used in agriculture. And if they're using chemicals in agriculture, then we're eating it all. And they have no idea what it's going to do to us. Doom mongers have warned that nanoparticles could mutate and reproduce out of control, consuming all life on Earth.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. A scenario often referred to as grey goo. I'm on about 3 pints of grey goo a day now, man, but I can handle it. I'm just feeling a bit eaten up at the moment, that's all. Wallington, hello, Joan.
Hello, Nick.
Joan.
I was looking at the fire today, and we were talking about the fire and the way the...
What fire?
Fire.
You mean your fire?
Yeah, my fire.
Oh, right.
Yeah?
You tend to do that, don't you?
Yes, it's lovely, isn't it?
Start a fire, and then you just can't stop looking at it.
You can't... yes.
Yeah, Stone Age television.
It's marvellous. It makes little noises.
Yeah, crackles and pops it does.
Oh, it's lovely. Very soothing.
Yes, it is, that's right.
I'm so soothed this evening.
Are you?
So soothed.
You are totally chilled.
Anyway, we were talking about it, and it suddenly occurred to us both that we remembered from way back that, as somebody said, you lose nothing in the world.
What do you mean?
It only changes. You never actually lose anything. It can't disappear. So one form of energy changes into another and another and another.
Right.
And so if we're losing it one way, there must be a way of finding what the new form is. It's just that we haven't found it yet.
We do seem to be overdue a technical innovation in power, yes. We've had the first industrial revolution, which was a good long while ago. Then we've had the communications revolution, which we're still undergoing, which has changed our lives immeasurably. What we are lacking now is the second revolution in power, yeah.
Yes, and I feel as if something about the government these days is actually stopping that. They're stopping the new inventions, they're stopping the new discoveries, they're wanting to fall back and back and back all the time. Scaredy custard.
I don't think that it's... if such a thing is happening, I don't believe it's the government, because the government, I think, just gets blown with the wind.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's the
behind them.
It's the organisations that are actually running the world, which are the multinational corporations.
Well, yeah.
The vested interests. The oil companies don't want someone to perfect solar technology, for instance.
It's all there, isn't it?
Because if they did, if you could put a lining on the roof of your car that could run it without the use of fossil fuels, then they'd be out of business overnight.
And apart from the sun, I'm sure there is some other form of energy. Apart from oil, apart from the sun, apart from the wind, I think where are you going to find something else?
Well, I've read recently that someone has invented a car that runs on water. It was...
yes, I heard that.
It's not just water itself. It has to be water under great pressure, which would push the pistons up and down as the pressure is released.
It's just that, of course, while they keep telling us we're running out of energy, running out of it stuff, and we've got to hold back, and they've got to charge us more, all that stuff. Well, that's probably not true at all, is it? As you say, it's their interest.
Well, yes, all of that, all those green taxes, all of that. I'll tax you 25 quid for coming into the centre of London if your car is over an arbitrary figure of CO2 emissions that I'll just make up. Well, that's just nonsense, really, isn't it?
But of course, they also want us not to have cars, not to go into London with our cars, and then they've got all the power and all the control of what you do every day and how you do it, and I think public transport is going to get a lot worse if they're controlling all our transport.
Well, the big problem with public transport is, of course, that there's going to be ever more of us. I mean, London Underground can only run so many trains on the infrastructure that it's got, unless you dig it all up and start again, which will never happen, well, not in our lifetimes anyway. Then we're stuck with the amount of trains that we've got running on those lines.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
you try and get on a train at 8:15 in the morning on the London Underground, and you can watch 5 trains go by before you can squeeze yourself on one.
When I used to work in London in my teens, we they shut the gates at Oxford Circus Tube at a certain time because there were too many people already down there. I ended up walking to Victoria many a night, and that was back a long time ago.
Yeah.
So what's it like now?
Well, you wouldn't believe it, Joan, honestly.
I wouldn't believe it.
It is the worst way to start a day I can think of. Without actually being thrashed awake, I can't think of anything worse.
Mm.
And most of London has to suffer that in the morning. You arrive at work stressed and sweating your face off.
I think the only way to do it is to go into zombie state.
Yeah, you do. You have to withdraw into yourself and try and forget that your nose is pressed into some gorilla's armpit.
You just put up a sort of barrier, don't you?
Yeah, you have to. This is why people. This is why the iPod has been such a runaway hit. Is because if you can isolate yourself of one of your senses, then the others will follow suit, and you can just withdraw into your own world.
Yeah.
And as we get ever more populated, we will withdraw into ourselves ever more. And so, bizarrely, we will communicate with each other less
and less.
The more of us there are. And this is happening right now. People aren't straying outside because they're too busy communicating with their 4,000 friends on MyFace, none of which they actually know. But it's just a way of communicating with people without actually communicating with people.
Well, it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's easier, meaningless and easier.
And you can do it while you're, you don't have to comb your hair to do it.
But I notice people with their little laptops now on the trains.
Yeah.
And, they look very, very busy.
Well,
very, very busy.
Yeah, playing
and
Sudoku.
you think, what are they doing? Because I'm not looking over anybody's shoulder like you did with the paper the other day.
Well, you have to take a peek at somebody's working on the computer, don't you? You just got to know what they're doing. You can't help it. It's true.
Yeah. But, yes, I think, this business about there isn't enough energy or the world's going to pot and all that, no energy actually disappears out of the world.
Well, A.A. Gill made this interesting point along those lines in an article that he wrote in the Sunday Times just the other week. He said, how many gallons per head of population do you think have been lost of water, have been lost or wasted in the last 100 years? Is it 10 gallons, 100 gallons, or 1,000 gallons of water per head? And the answer is 0.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't go anywhere. No. Water is all still here. The same amount of water is here now than was here 10,000 years ago.
Yes, so it's not going to be more, it's not going to be less.
Yeah.
One way or other.
It's just in a different place.
And if the ice cap melts, I don't suppose we will actually have any more water. It will just do something different.
Well, if the ice cap melts, we'll have enormous amounts more water.
But will we? That's the thing.
Because less of it will be ice, you see.
But I don't know. I don't know about that. I think it might simply change into something else. And that we won't, as you were saying, if we haven't lost any water, then why should we actually have more?
Now you've lost me. When the ice melts, we'll have more water.
Yes,
it's just that it won't be ice anymore.
Ice is still water.
Well, I know what you mean, yeah, but ice is ice. And
yeah, I know, it's a difference. It is different in one way.
Yeah.
But supposing it simply means that more evaporates.
But if it evaporates,
if we're warmer,
and then it comes back down as rain. I mean, it doesn't evaporate and go into space.
No, it doesn't. But then, if it's not coming down as ice, and it's coming down as rain, but then if it's all warmer here, then it evaporates more quickly, so there's just more change. It's more up and down more.
Right, well, I can't wait.
See, up and down more, this is good. I think.
You think? Yeah. I think we're all slightly confused, but we'll just press on anyway. Joan, I've got to go.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
my dear. Ta-da.
Bye-bye now.
0845 6060 973. It's 9:45. LBC Travel with Maggie Doyle.
Well, starting off with some good news on the M25.
Here's one in Yorkshire. Hello, John.
Hello, Nick.
John.
That last lady caller, I've got to give my respect to her. You and her covered more subjects in a couple of minutes than Nick Ferrari and James O'Brien done in the whole of their 2 shows this morning.
And we did it in depth, eh?
Yeah.
We sorted out a lot of problems there, yeah.
I was going to talk to you about those hybrid cars, but I just think in passing what you said about clean film and the chemicals in it.
Yeah.
I just read an article by some scientist who found that the plastic bottles that you get mineral water in, it doesn't matter whether he's tried it with different sorts of mineral water, tap water, everything. The longer you leave it in there, and bearing in mind they've got like a 2-year sell-by date on most of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what they used to call it anti-money, some toxic substance. I don't know what the technical term for it is, the proper, it's highly poisonous, but the longer the water's in there, the more of this stuff leaks out of the plastic. So
Yeah, I heard that too. And you know what? I use one water bottle per week. I just, pop a fresh one at the beginning of the week and then just refill it.
Yeah, I will buy, if I'm out and I want to buy a drink, I don't drink Coke or anything.
No.
You can't drink beer when you're driving, so I'll buy one and then I'll check that it's got 2 years to run on it, so I know it's not been in there for any length of time.
I suppose that's a good idea. But no, I think you're right. So we are, with plastic bottles, I think we are poisoning ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, not like
slowly.
what you do. I'll fill it out of the tap and then take it out. If I don't use it, I'll water the plants for it or something.
Yeah.
And then, but get back to those hybrid cars and all the stuff about pollution. Something else, I read a lot of stuff. Something else, some bloke said that when those hybrid cars... Turn it off. That's my daughter. So, turn it.
I blame the parents, John.
Put that in the ashtray. I'm going out in the passage so she can listen to it on the radio. Apparently...
Put that in the ashtray?
Yeah, bad habit. Apparently when cars make 25% of their pollution in the manufacturers before they even leave the factory.
Yes.
And they make about, I think it's about another 10% or something like that. There's a big plant in London that disposes and they drain everything out of them now.
That's right. In the manufacture and disposal of cars, that's where most of the emissions and pollution comes from.
Exactly.
Not the bit in the middle where you use it.
Yeah, my point being that because they've, I've just got an ordinary a small hatchback with a petrol engine, but with an hybrid car, you've got electric motors and...
They're much more polluting to manufacture. Yes, you're right.
There's a lot more stuff goes into making them.
Correct.
And when you recycle them, there's a lot more to be taken out and recycled. Maybe they get a bit back like that. I don't know, but I'm not against stopping pollution. I mean, the old London pea soup just killed me dad. So, when everyone had a coal fire.
Right, well, keep smoking, John.
I'll make my own bit of pollution.
Exactly.
I'm not relying on anyone else.
All right, thanks a lot.
Cheers, Nick.
But he's right there. That's the thing about hybrid cars. I mean, they are, the South Park people called them pious. Not a Prius, a pious. Because people in them are very pious. Oh, I'm not polluting the environment, me. But the manufacturer of those very complicated machines is much more ruinous to the environment than an ordinary combustion engine car. I believe that's a fact. You can write that down, Raj. The stuff we come out with on this show, it's like an education, ain't it?
No!
Here is... by the way, we've come up with... somebody must have called this in. Alistair Darling. You'd have to Google this, because you probably won't... He wasn't one of the more famous characters. But if you go on a Google image search of the eagle in the Muppets, it is hilarious. Actually, come to think of it, Raj, it's a bit like you. He's not liking me for having said that. The eagle in the Muppets. Go ahead and do an image search on that. It's a cross between Alistair Darling and my man Raj. Here's Marylebone. Hello, David.
Putney, actually. Hello, Nick. And it's not flooded. But I digress. I've learned some things tonight off your programme. You can't drink beer when you're driving. That's where I've been going wrong. And water might turn into something else.
Yeah.
Mash weed, perhaps. But... OK, Darling might be stitching us up with the taxation on 4x4s and everything else, but I feel that we're putting our heads in the sand, or certain people might be, if we don't think the amount of cars on this earth and the way we're living our lives today, which I'm as guilty of as anyone, but the way we're living our life today might just be mucking things up. And as for the guy who said earlier on in the 70s we was warned against the new ice age, well, yeah... The result of global warming could indeed lead to a new ice age, because the North Atlantic coastal Gulf Stream would do that. With the melting of the polar ice caps,
it could imbalance the coastal wave system and send them plummeting in degrees. And we're seeing that we're on the same latitude as Labrador, but our weather's a lot more clement than that.
Labrador?
Labrador in Canada. We could end up in a new ice age. It ain't as simple as, it's going to get hotter, so, and we're going to get hot.
Yes, I think you're right there, that we might not actually benefit from from global warming. It might here get worse, colder.
Of course. Darling, he might be stitching us up. And I confer with another chap who was on, I don't really give a monkey's neither. The world might do quite well, and this might sound kind of psychotic, but the world might do well without us for a little while. The world will survive. We just won't be here, and it might steady down a bit. But as long as Darling, I like saying Darling.
Yeah, well, you do, don't you? Yeah.
Hasn't taxed Eastern European escort girls, I'm as happy as Larry.
As long as you don't say anything controversial, that's excellent. Thanks a lot, David. Cheers, mate. Ta-ra. Huh. Yes, I did get the feeling. I mentioned this just the other day. When I flew over towards Heathrow, it was the most extraordinary sight, I think, the second most extraordinary sight I've ever seen out of an airplane window. The first was when I was flying, this was a long time ago, I was flying above flat cloud, very, very high up in the sky. And the sun was up at on the right of the plane, sort of at 10 o'clock in the sky, and the shadow of the plane was perfectly formed on the clouds below, around which was a circular rainbow. Because up there, of course, the Earth doesn't interrupt the rainbow. It's not a half circle, it's a circle. Excuse me. Oh dear. I caught something on that plane coming over. I've been feeling really rough ever since I got back. So imagine that. The shadow of your plane is going along a completely white surface inside a circular rainbow. I didn't dream that. Groovy. It was groovy. The second most extraordinary sight was this time around, because I think all the pollution had been blown away, and it was London spread out beneath me, with its lights on at night. And it occurred to me that it looked like, how to put this? It looked like I'm drying up just before the end of the programme. It looked as though we'd taken over the surface of the Earth, as though we'd spread across it like a virus, a bright blue, a bright orange virus that stretched for as far as the eye could see. And you're right, the Earth will get along without us, it just won't be so orange. Hey, Raj, what have we talked about on this Super Show?
We started off talking about the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Then the winter fuel allowance.
Yes.
Feeding time at the zoo.
Yeah.
Which was more of an observation, really.
That's right.
Civil service chaos. Mm-hmm. The work shy. Picking butternut squash.
See a feeding time at the zoo above, yes.
Picking up butternut squash.
That's right.
For 2 days. Mm-hmm. Being put down with the chavs. Well, not put down.
Yeah.
In with them. Dickensian children.
Yes.
Having a boat. Ecologically
having
sound.
A boat. Yes. Well, you got to, haven't you?
You got to have a boat, don't you? Cup holders.
Cup holders, yes.
Insults in communal showers.
Yeah. Pull yourself together, boy.
Humour sightings.
He's not going to do it, is he? LBC.
On behalf of the Pipex team, I'd like to welcome